Do you know how hard that question is? There's so many incredible albums that you can't live without. One of them is Raising Sand with Robert Plant, Alison Krauss. It got the Grammy for that particular year that it came out. But I just can't, it never gets old to me. So if I had to be alone forever and listen to something like that, I could still listen to it over and over again. You know, it just doesn't grow old to me. He has the tonality that's so blues and so kind of roots, but after Zeppelin, he's sort of developed more of his crooning style, which is really appealing, really romantic, you know. I went and saw that show a couple of times at the Greek Theater, 2 nights in a row. It's like, oh my God. He threw a pick from the stage and it landed right in the center of my friend's cleavage. Went down her shirt. I wonder if he practiced that, but anyway, yeah, but what a great album. Album number 2 that I've played maybe more than almost any other album is Wrecking Ball. Emmylou Harris with the production of Daniel Lanois, who did a bunch of the U2 stuff, and Neil Young appears a couple times on the album too, singing a song like Wrecking Ball, which is the title track that is, I believe, is a Neil Young song. She's got this kind of spirituality and rootsiness and emotional depth to her singing. It's kind of like High Lonesome, you know, which is a description of a certain almost country style of singing. So she's got a certain high lonesome I cannot resist. And a lot of the songs she wrote on the album were just stellar, on the level of Joni Mitchell or on the level of a Bob Dylan's kind of writing. We also listened to that album pretty consistently on heart tours to warm up our voices, because it's right in the range where you're like, and the range where it gets worn out on the stage, you know, you kind of got to warm through it. You got to warm through that little spot, the glitchy spot in your singing voice. The Wrecking Ball album is like a stock standard. Okay, number 3, I would say Hejira by Joni Mitchell. Well, it's my favorite Joni Mitchell song album. There's so many of them too, but that one in particular, it describes the journey, the sojourn or the hejira of the traveler and the stories that the traveler will tell. You know, her writing is just unbelievably amazing. It's a lonely place to be a traveler, but she relishes the lonely journey of the traveler, and she makes it poetic. So on my album, I tried to kind of imitate that a little bit on one of my songs. Her take on things is so different for a female writer, because she's not bound and tied to anyone. She's not a man's woman. She's just kind of her own sailor at sea all by herself and chooses that life. So, I mean, that's pretty brave stuff, you know, coming from a gorgeous blonde woman from Canada. But yeah, her thing is so precious. It's always been. I was like unable to listen to any Joni Mitchell for a couple of years after my divorce happened, because it was just too private, too personal, too painful for me to go there. You know, that would make me cry for sure. So it took me a while to just tiptoe back into the Joni Mitchell world. Tumbleweed Connection by Elton John. Always a huge fan of Elton John and a friend of Elton John and his writer, his lyricist, Bernie Taupin. Those guys are just wonderful. Tumbleweed Connection in particular was such a cool take on Americana through the eyes of English guys. So they had this really cool, cute take on Americana, like, you know, the slang of the Western kind of almost like watching a Western movie, like a costume drama, There's not a clunker on it, and it really spans a lot of variety as well. So it's just fun. I had my little setup, my little stereo system next to my bed and my headphones. And so I would play side one over and over and over and over because I couldn't wait to get back to My Father's Gun at the end of side one. And I would just go on the riverboat and I would travel down the river and, I would just be on that riverboat. And then you finally turn it over. Maybe by about 4 or 5 in the morning, I would have listened to side two enough times to get to sleep. But I really imprinted that in my deep DNA. This is a little more of a brand new one. Relatively new, a Bruce Springsteen album called Western Stars. After I saw Bruce Springsteen on Broadway's show live in New York, which is the reason I decided to do The Rising after the shutdown happened, just for the, reasons of trying to help people out through this awful time. Then he put out Western Stars after he'd already done Bruce Springsteen on Broadway, and I'm like, this guy is so prolific and it's so great, the meaning. And it was like nothing you'd expected because it's more like a Burt Bacharach. There's moments that are sort of Burt Bacharach and classic 60s production values and some string parts. That album, I picked it up right before the last Heart tour started, and I was like, oh, the first time I heard it, I was doing yoga in the next room, and I heard it. It was like, this is gonna get me through the summer. I know it. This will save me when I'm exhausted from all the no sleep and the bad pizza and all the things, the less than glamorous things about being on a rock tour. All of these albums were great to warm your voice up to. So I was just blasting each and every one of these albums in my dressing room before I'd go on stage. And they're all pretty different. They diverge from each other, but they all have, I think, a lot of poetry in common. There's poetic humanity going on in all the stuff. So, and I'm all for that. I vote for that.
Hey there, thanks for watching Access TV. Subscribe, follow, like, and do all the good stuff. And make sure you leave a comment below. I don't know, just let us know what your favorite Access TV show is, or who your favorite bands are, and what artists you're into, or just say hi, man. I like to be told hi. We love hearing from you. That's the point, all right? Keep it coming.